In this series of Vitalise videos, we're looking at the life of Simon Peter. And today, we're going to have a look at his calling. So I'd encourage you to stop the video and have a look at the passage in Luke 5, 1-11. What strikes me about this passage is that Peter and his friends are not there really to listen to Jesus. All they're doing is they're just sitting there, mending their nets after a night of fishing, when Jesus and the crowds of people who are listening to him turn up. And actually, we don't see anything more in that passage that suggests that they were interested in what he was saying at all. But as they get closer to the beach, Jesus steps in Peter's boat and they take him out on the lake. And then we have this miracle of the fish. And it's at this point that Peter realizes that this Jesus is something special. It's something different. And he falls down on his knees before Jesus. And that's the point where he acknowledges him as Lord. And that's the point where Jesus says, "Come, follow me." You see, I don't think Peter is one of those people who's actually that interested necessarily in the latest religious stuff that's going on. He's not one of those people who's gone down to listen to him. He's not one of those people who's gone to follow him. And Peter doesn't look like someone who's going to be an apprentice of a religious leader. But yet, Jesus saw something in him and his friends. Something in them Jesus saw for him to call them as his first disciples. Maybe it was how quick they were to acknowledge who Jesus was when after that miracle. Maybe it was something in the way they acted. But Jesus called him. And when Jesus called him, he didn't say, "Right, these are a few things you need to do if you're going to follow me. Firstly, I'd like you to go on a discipleship course, a theology course. I want you to get rid of your fisherman's clothes and dress up in a suit." No, Jesus calls him straight away. He says, "Come, follow me." And the Bible says they left everything and went and followed Jesus, just like that. Sometimes, I think we feel like we're not a very good witness for Jesus. Sometimes we look at ourselves and think that we don't act in the way that we should. Maybe we think that we don't know enough to be able to talk about Jesus. Sometimes we think that we're not perfect. But actually, that's not what God is looking for. This passage says that Jesus called Peter and his friends, warts and all. And it's the same with us. He calls us despite the fact that we're not perfect. Despite the fact that sometimes we get it wrong. Sometimes we mess up. But God calls us all in those failings. Jesus called Peter, the fisherman, to fish for men for him. Jesus calls young people to be young people for him. To share about what Jesus means to them and who he is in their school. In the way they act, the things they do, and the things they say. Jesus knows that we're not perfect. Jesus knows that sometimes it gets a bit messy. But nonetheless, Jesus calls us the same way he called Peter. As we go through the life of Peter this week, we're going to see that Peter got it wrong a number of times. That things did get messy with Peter. But nonetheless, Jesus called him and wanted him to share about who Jesus meant to him. In the same way, Jesus gives that call to us. He says, "Come, follow me." Let's have that boldness to take up that challenge, to follow him, to be a witness for him to those around us and in our schools. Knowing that it might sometimes get a bit messy, that sometimes we won't be perfect. But let's take up that challenge, just like Peter did.